Chapter 51 Simulator Upgrade and Space Key, please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 51 Simulator Upgrade and Space Key, please read. Congratulations to the host for successfully embarking on the path of a wizard. The wizard's life simulator has begun to upgrade, and the upgrade time is 1 natural day. Simulator Upgrade. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Chenmu was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the simulator would be upgraded after becoming a wizard apprentice. When he became a knight or even a great knight, the simulator didn't move. Chenmu thought the simulator had always been like this, but it's normal to upgrade. After all, the name of the simulator is the Wizard's Life Simulator. Chenmu was also a little curious about what the simulator would look like after the upgrade, but the upgrade also takes time. Chenmu still needs to wait for a natural day, but fortunately this time is not long. Panel. Chenmu tried to call the panel in his mind, and a transparent light curtain appeared in front of him as usual. Name, Chenmu. Spirit, 2.5. Constitution, 6.8. Knight Realm, Great Knight. Wizard Realm, First Level Wizard Apprentice. Breathing Method, Golden Lion Breathing Method, Perfect. Meditation Method, Black Tower Meditation Method. Entry 12/400. Knight Skills, Lion Heart / Mastery 1324/1600, Armor Break / Mastery 543/1600, Star Rocket, Mastery 612/1600, Double Blade. / Mastery 124/1600, Charged Strike, Mastery 88/1600, Explosion, Proficient 720/800. Witchcraft, none. Number of simulations, 0. Although the simulator has been upgraded, the attribute panel can still be used as usual. Chenmu focused on the attribute panel. The mental power has changed from 1.7 to 2.5, which can be said to be a huge improvement. You should know that it is extremely difficult to improve the mental power by a little bit, and the improvement of 0.8 is undoubtedly huge for Chenmu. The Wizard Realm column has also changed from nothing to a first-level wizard apprentice. Chenmu now has no difference from a normal first-level wizard apprentice except that he has not engraved Witchcraft in his spiritual C. Witchcraft. Chenmu looked at the panel and muttered to himself, for wizard apprentices, mental power is undoubtedly very important, but witchcraft is equally important, and every wizard apprentice is extremely cautious in choosing the witchcraft engraved in the spiritual C, because once the witchcraft is engraved in the spiritual C, it is extremely difficult to remove it unless you become a formal wizard. Before becoming a second-level wizard apprentice, a first-level wizard apprentice can engrave up to 50 ring witchcraft in the spiritual C. Of course, this also has requirements for the spiritual C. Chenmu, who has just become a first-level wizard apprentice, naturally cannot engrave 5, but 3, but when his spiritual C expands to the limit of a first-level wizard apprentice, he can engrave 50 ring witchcraft in the spiritual C. A second-level wizard apprentice can engrave up to 80 ring witchcrafts in the spiritual C, and a third-level wizard apprentice can engrave 9, that's right. Only one more, 90 ring witchcrafts are the limit of witchcrafts that can be engraved in the spiritual C before becoming a formal wizard. As for the choice of witchcraft, Chenmu actually has some ideas in his mind. Maybe I don't have to focus on myself in the simulation, maybe I can change my approach. Chenmu said to himself. He only had this idea after this simulation. As for why he had this idea, the reason was that he saw his son's talent in the simulation. In the simulation, his son became an epic knight, which means that the knight's talent is extremely high. But what if this knight's talent is replaced with wizard qualifications? In the simulation, he did not take his son to test the wizard qualifications, so Chenmu did not know whether his offspring had wizard qualifications, but if his son really has a good wizard talent, is it possible? If I give birth to a bunch of sons in the simulation, and then send all the offspring with wizard qualifications to the wizard continent, and finally wait for their return, is it possible? Chenmu pondered in his heart. The final conclusion is that it may be feasible, but it needs to be verified. For example, he really gave birth to 10 sons, and his sons all have wizard qualifications. Ignoring the strength of his sons' qualifications, send them all to the wizard continent. In the end, only a Few people may survive, and it is not certain whether these people can grow up, and even if they grow up, they may return to the secondary continent again. There are too many factors that may be affected. Finally, Chenmu shook his head gently and cleared the messy thoughts in his mind. It's useless to think too much. It's better to try it in the next simulation. By the way, bronze key. Chenmu, who felt the surge of mental power, suddenly remembered something. The next moment, Chenmu reached out to his chest and took out the bronze key. Chenmu has always attached great importance to this bronze key, so he strung it into a pendant and hung it on his chest. Without hesitation, Chenmu tentatively touched the bronze key in his hand with his mental power. After becoming a first-level wizard apprentice, the mental power in the spiritual sea can be controlled to affect reality. Mental power is like Chenmu's third hand. The moment Chenmu's spiritual power touched the bronze key underwent a huge change. A green light instantly gushed out from the bronze key. The next moment, the color of the bronze key faded and turned into a fluorescent light that penetrated into Chenmu's spiritual sea. What? Before Chenmu could have a huge emotion, an unknown memory suddenly appeared in his mind. Space secret key. This extra memory immediately made Chenmu understand what happened. The bronze key that was floating motionlessly in his spiritual sea at this moment turned out to be a real magic weapon. This magic weapon was engraved with a real one-ring witchcraft. One-ring witchcraft, small dimensional magic. This one-ring witchcraft is not an attack-type witchcraft, nor is it an auxiliary witchcraft, and cannot be blessed to the owner of the magic weapon. Yes, at this time, this magic weapon has recognized its master, and its owner, naturally, is Chenmu. This magic weapon has only one function, that is, storage. There is a small dimensional space in the magic weapon, which can store dead objects, which is somewhat similar to the storage rings in the novels that Chenmu read in his previous life. A true magic weapon needs to be nurtured by the owner's spiritual power. That's why the space key will enter Chenmu's mind after recognizing the owner. The next moment, the space key in the spiritual sea appeared in Chenmu's hand again. Chenmu used his spiritual power to hook the space key that had recognized the owner, trying to open the dimension space of the key. But Chenmu tried it and found that it had no effect. Sure enough, it can't be opened directly, and it needs to be nurtured for a while. Understanding what was going on, Chenmu took the space key back into the spiritual sea. The next moment, Chenmu's face became a little solemn. A bit reckless. Chenmu thought in his heart, this time he was indeed a bit reckless. If this bronze key was not a storage magic weapon but some other type of magic weapon, then Chenmu's spiritual sea might have collapsed at this time. Chenmu had just become a first-level wizard apprentice, and his spiritual sea was very fragile, and it was difficult to withstand some other types of magic weapons. This time, Chenmu was very lucky, and this bronze key happened to be a storage magic weapon. You should know that among all kinds of magic weapons, storage magic weapons are the rarest and the most gentle. Even a first-level wizard apprentice can recognize the master at will. Please read on. Chapter 52, The Eye of the Seven-Ring Witchcraft World. Please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 52, Seven Rings of Witchcraft, Eye of the World. Seeking to read. In the large bath in the core area of the Golden Lion family, the steam rose, and Chenmu, who was leaning against the edge of the bath in the water, closed his eyes slightly, looking relaxed. This bath is somewhat similar to the hot spring that Chenmu had soaked in his previous life, and the water in the bath is changed every day. So Chenmu would come here to soak and relax every few days. Taiwan Novel Network. The next moment, Chenmu's expression changed from relaxed to serious, and his eyes looked straight ahead. Here it comes. As soon as the thought came to his mind, two mechanical voices sounded in Chenmu's mind. The Wizard's Life Simulator has been upgraded, and the Wizard's Life Simulator 2.0 is at your service. The novice period is over, and subsequent simulations require magic stone charging under the original premise. Charge with magic stones. The next moment, a series of memories flooded into Chenmu's mind, and he instantly understood the upgraded simulator. In short, the simulations in the novice period before were all free, and the simulations in the future would require payment. In addition to accumulating simulation times once a month, the simulations in the future also require the use of magic stones to charge before they can be started. It also requires energy to start the simulation. Before, it was considered a novice subsidy that allowed Chenmu to get free several times. Now that Chenmu has become a wizard apprentice, this subsidy is gone. This is not good news. Chenmu frowned and thought, the simulator upgrade he expected not only did not add new features, but also added a charging standard. Every time he starts the simulation in the future, he needs 10 magic stones. Although the number is not large, few people on the secondary continent have magic stones. It is not an exaggeration to say that there is no market for it. However, Chenmu is not dissatisfied. It is normal for plugins to charge, and 10 magic stones are not actually a lot. Moreover, Chenmu does not need to worry about magic stones for the time being. After the family treasure house is open to him, he can use the family magic stones at will. Although Chenmu did not carefully observe how many magic stones the Golden Lion family has, there are at least hundreds of them, which is enough for him to simulate more than a dozen times. So fast. Chenmu, who was thinking about the magic stone problem, suddenly felt happy. Just a few minutes after his simulator was upgraded, the space key in his spiritual sea suddenly moved. The next moment, the space key suspended in the center of Chenmu's spiritual sea appeared in Chenmu's hand. Chenmu's mental power passed through the space key, and suddenly a transparent space appeared in front of him. So big, that the small dimension of the space key is almost as big as Chenmu's room, with hundreds of square meters. There is no flow of time in the dimension space. Chenmu can see that there are several wooden boxes in the middle of the dimension space. Chenmu closed the dimension space first, and then came out of the bath. After wiping off the water stains on his body, Chenmu put on a neat set of clothes and walked out of the bath. This is the bathhouse in the core area of the Golden Lion family. Apart from the guards outside, there is only Chenmu in the bathhouse. Nodding to the guards who saluted him, Chenmu left here and returned to his small manor. Returning to the manor room and closing the door, Chenmu reopened the small dimension of the space key. The next moment, Chenmu's spirit moved, and a wooden box appeared on the floor in front of him. Chenmu's eyes lit up, and he felt a little magical when he witnessed this scene. Instead of opening the wooden box directly with his hands, Chenmu found a cane and opened the lid of the wooden box. Good guy, now there is no need to worry about the simulation. Whatever you need will come. Am I really the protagonist? Chenmu's eyes were a little surprised. The box on the wooden floor in front of him opened wide, and everything in the box was revealed in front of Chenmu. The box was neatly arranged with pieces of lavender prismatic gems. Chenmu was naturally familiar with these gems. They were magic stones. A whole box of magic stones. Chenmu approached the wooden box and casually picked up a magic stone. The lavender magic stone emitted a faint halo, mysterious and beautiful. Chenmu simply counted the magic stones in the wooden box. 500 pieces, a full 500 magic stones were neatly placed in the box. You should know that the magic stones accumulated by the Golden Lion family for hundreds of years are only a little over 100. At this moment, there are 500 magic stones in the box in front of Chenmu. In the small dimension of the space key, Chenmu saw more than one box. There are 2 boxes like this. If they are all magic stones, then he is really rich. The next moment, Chenmu hooked the space key again, and 2 more boxes appeared in front of Chenmu. Chenmu skillfully opened the lid of the box with his cane, and everything in the 2 wooden boxes was revealed in front of Chenmu. Another whole box of magic stones, and this, a book. After being mentally prepared, Chenmu was not so surprised to see a whole box of magic stones again. However, the things in the other wooden box still aroused Chenmu's interest. There was only a seemingly ordinary book in the huge wooden box. Chenmu picked up the book. It looked very thin, but it was a bit heavy. Chenmu couldn't tell what the book was made of. There was an eye engraved on the cover of the book, which looked like a human eye. When Chenmu saw this eye, he felt that the spiritual power in his spiritual sea seemed to be aroused. Opening the book, there are words and symbols that Chenmu cannot understand. From beginning to end, Chenmu did not find anything special about this book. The moment Chenmu closed the book, the eye on the cover seemed to have caught a trace of Chenmu's spiritual power. The next moment, the page automatically turned. The words and symbols in the book began to twist, merge, and finally turned into the outline of a pair of eyes. Chenmu felt that these eyes seemed to be the eyes of a living person, because he clearly felt that the eyes formed by the fusion of words and symbols seemed to be looking at him. The moment he felt the eye to eye, Chenmu felt that a memory suddenly appeared in his mind. Zero Ring Witchcraft, Eye of the Spirit. that this book actually engraved a zero-ring witchcraft, and it was not an ordinary zero-ring witchcraft. The clear memory made Chenmu understand that this eye of the spirit was actually the absolute core witchcraft of the spirit system. You must know that ordinary zero-ring witchcraft has no potential, and some zero-ring witchcraft can be reconstructed into a one-ring witchcraft after becoming a formal wizard, but there is another kind of witchcraft that has absolutely no potential end. It can also be said that almost no one can practice this kind of witchcraft to the end. The eye of the spirit is this kind of witchcraft. Although Chenmu does not control this witchcraft at present, the extra memory and engraving method of this witchcraft in his mind make him understand how precious this witchcraft is. In the evolutionary chain of the eye of the spirit in his memory, Chenmu even saw a huge eye that seemed to be bigger than a planet. That is the end of this known zero-ring witchcraft, seven-ring witchcraft, eye of the world. P.S. Thank you for the monthly ticket of Daka Shoshin, love you. Please read, please give monthly tickets, please give rewards to occupy a list. Thank you. There is a group number in the introduction of the homepage of the work. If you are interested, you can join the group. Chapter 53 Doubts and Departure, please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 53 Doubts and Departure, please follow up. Point 7 Rings of Witchcraft. How powerful that is. At least at this time, Chenmu was far from being able to understand that kind of power. I found a treasure. Chenmu sighed in his heart. More than just picking up a treasure, getting this kind of witchcraft is almost like a homeless man in the kingdom suddenly becoming a duke. After digesting the memories in his mind, Chenmu returned his gaze to the book of witchcraft in his hand. At this time, the book in his hand has changed greatly. The eyes on the book cover have disappeared, as have all the words and symbols on the pages. The extra memory made Chenmu understand that this was normal. Ordinary zero-ring witchcraft can be engraved on a book and can be practiced repeatedly by many people. However, zero-ring witchcraft like the Eye of Spirit not only has extremely high requirements for the material of the book in which the witchcraft is inscribed, but it can only be learned by one person, and it is directly transmitted through memory. Putting the books back into the wooden boxes, Chenmu put the 3 wooden boxes back into the small dimensional space of the space key. Although he has the memory and engraving method of the spiritual eye, it is definitely not easy to engrave this witchcraft into his spiritual see. But Chenmu didn't have anything to worry about because he had a plug-in. But after calming down, Chenmu felt a little strange. Yes, it's just weird. He did not forget where he got this space key. The space key will definitely not suddenly appear in the Golden Lion family. Based on the previous simulations and the behavior of the black-clothed seeking association, it is not difficult to guess that the person who left this space key is probably the ancestor of the Golden Lion family. But the strange thing about Chenmu is here. The ancestor of the Golden Lion family was definitely a wizard apprentice, and there was even a slight possibility that he was a real wizard. Chenmu didn't believe that such a being would not understand the preciousness of the space key. Moreover, there is a magic stone in the space key. The magic stone can be said to be an indispensable thing for a wizard, not to mention the more important spiritual eye witchcraft, magic weapons, magic stones, witchcraft. Chenmu felt that no wizard should refuse these 3 things. In his previous simulations, Lord Stone, a real wizard, would be tempted by the magic storage device, so how could the family ancestor who didn't even have a wizard give up such an important thing, and instead left it to the Golden Lion family who didn't even have a wizard? You must know that this ancestor was once given to a wizard by his family for experimentation. Even if this hatred dissipates, he shouldn't be so generous. Chenmu frowned and thought. Is it because the witchcraft seals are full? No, even if the witchcraft seals are full of magic weapons and magic stones, how do you explain it? And witchcraft like spiritual eyes can definitely be exchanged for a large amount of magic stones. Maybe the ancestor guessed that no one in the Golden Lion family would discover the secret of the space key, so he temporarily sent the key to the family. But in the simulation, I have owned the key for nearly 100 years and I haven't seen the ancestor come back to get it. Thoughts were entangled in his mind, and Chenmu couldn't figure it out. Chenmu himself is a rather suspicious person, but after thinking for a long time, Chenmu couldn't figure out the reason, so he could only put this idea behind him. But he still kept it in mind. The benefits have already been taken, and there is no point in looking forward now. If Chenmu were to give away this space key now, it would naturally be impossible. The next moment, Chenmu took the space key back into the spiritual sea, crossed his legs and started to use the Black Tower meditation method. So much, Chenmu took a cloth bag handed over by Count Arthur, opened it, took a look and said, "The bags are filled with glittering paper rolls, also called gold scrolls." Chenmu just took a cursory glance and saw that the face value was all 100, which added up to hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands of gold coins are definitely not a small amount in the kingdom. Gold coins are essential for traveling around the kingdom. There are 200,000 in total, not much. Earl Arthur smiled lightly and spoke, as if this was not 200,000 gold coins, but 20 pieces of paper. However, with the financial resources of the Golden Lion family, 200,000 gold coins is indeed not too much. It can even be said to be a drop in the bucket. The rest of the things are on the carriage. You are the only one traveling the kingdom this time. You must remember what I told you before. Earl Arthur's tone was serious, and Chenmu nodded when he heard this. Looking at Chenmu's back, Earl Arthur's eyes revealed plainness. Underneath his plain eyes were his mixed emotions. William. After passing through the Golden Lion Garden, Chenmu arrived at the place where the family parked their carriage. After arriving at the place, he saw William standing next to the carriage, and Chenmu was a little surprised. "Come on, young master, I will send you to the Four Seasons city on the edge of the Far East territory. Once you get there, you will be alone." William saw the surprise in Chenmu's eyes and spoke with a smile. "Trouble." Chenmu understood that this was what his father, Earl Arthur, meant, so he naturally did not refuse and spoke with a slight smile. After saying that, Chenmu boarded the carriage, while William sat on the horse and waved his whip. Crack! With a crack of whip, the carriage set off. Chenmu, who was sitting in the carriage, opened the curtain and looked behind him. Chenmu knew that it might be a few years before he wanted to come back after traveling to the kingdom. Now he is a great knight and a first-level wizard apprentice. What will happen when he returns from traveling around the kingdom in a few years? Chenmu has no ability to predict the future, so he naturally doesn't know. Chenmu let go of the strange emotions in his heart and lowered the curtain. He picked up a large map beside him, which was specially prepared by Earl Arthur for Chenmu. It is the latest version of the map of the kingdom. The map covers the entire Winter Kingdom, and even some places outside the border of the kingdom are marked out. Although it is just a map, such a map is still valuable in the kingdom. Chenmu saw the East River province on the map, and even saw the Far East territory at a glance. The Far East territory of the Golden Lion family is definitely not small, but it is not very conspicuous compared to the entire kingdom. So it is naturally not that Chenmu's eyesight is so good, but it has been marked on the map. The entire East River province occupies 1/6 of the territory of the kingdom, and the Far East territory is only a small piece in the East River province, about 1/15. Chenmu is not sure. Chenmu held the map and looked at it carefully. Four Seasons City was not conspicuous on the entire map, but Chenmu still found it. William was right. Four Seasons City was located at the edge of the Far East territory. Chenmu looked around Four Seasons City on the map and set his sights on the entire kingdom. After becoming a wizard apprentice, Chenmu found that his memory seemed to have become stronger. He had a strong memory before, and now his memory is even stronger, even to the point of being able to remember everything he saw. So in just a moment, the entire map was engraved in Chenmu's mind like a sculpture. He can remember everything on the map at any time. Please read more. Chapter 54 Four Seasons City and Huang Liema. Please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 54 Four Seasons City and Yellow Fierce Horse. Please read later. We are here, Master. Chenmu, who was meditating with his eyes closed in the carriage, heard William's voice and then opened his eyes. So soon. Chenmu pulled open the curtain of the carriage and saw a magnificent city wall gate. Two fully armed guards stood in front of the gate, their eyes looking straight ahead, but compared to the walls and gates of Far East City, Four Seasons City is obviously much smaller, and as a city on the edge of the Far East territory, most of the people in the city are from other territories. Compared with the stability of Far East City, this place is more chaotic, but with the deterrence of the Golden Lion family, the people here dare not make trouble. The carriage entered the city smoothly. Although the guards did not know William, they were familiar with the Golden Lion family's logo. In the Far East territory, no one is brave enough to pretend to be a member of the family. Master, I won't stay in the city for long. Watching Chenmu get off the carriage, William on the horse spoke. Leave now. Hearing Chenmu's words, William nodded. He was only responsible for sending Chenmu to Four Seasons City. After that, William had to return to the core area of the Golden Lion family. After all, traveling around the kingdom was Chenmu's business alone, and even if he wanted to protect the master, he couldn't. William left, and took the family's carriage with him. Chenmu now had nothing but money, of course, that was enough, carrying a cloth bag, which contained maps and gold scrolls, as well as some letters prepared by Earl Arthur for him. Chenmu looked around. To be honest, he was completely unfamiliar with the Four Seasons City in the family's territory. The only thing he was familiar with might be the name of the city of Four Seasons City. Just as Chenmu was looking around, a man walked towards Chenmu as if he had mustered up the courage. Sir, I see that this seems to be your first time in Four Seasons City. I am a guide in Four Seasons City. If you need anything, you can tell me directly. I can help you find the way for just 1 silver coin. Bray's heart was also a little nervous. He originally did not set his sights on Chenmu, because these so-called Four Seasons City guides are actually people who are familiar with Four Seasons City. This profession is also a special profession born out of the unique geographical location of Four Seasons City, because this is a border city in the Far East Territory. Most people here are here for the first time, so there is the profession of guide. All of them have a pair of sharp eyes. Chenmu looked like a nobleman at first glance. And there was a special carriage to send him off, and his momentum was also extraordinary, but the carriage only stayed for a moment and then left, making him think that Chenmu might be a down-and-out noble. Four Seasons City guide? Chenmu asked with interest, and Bray nodded. Okay, take me to the nearest bank first, I want to exchange some money. Chenmu did not refuse. Although he could not stay in Four Seasons City for a long time, it would be much more convenient to have a guide. Besides, a silver coin is better than nothing for him. Seeing Chenmu agree, Blaze suppressed his joy. Their business is not as easy as imagined. Regardless of whether the competition is fierce or not, the price of a silver coin alone is not something that ordinary people are willing to pay. 1 silver coin can buy several good meals in Four Seasons City. Most people would rather run around like a headless fly than find a guide. Okay, sir, do you want me to carry these things for you? Blay immediately entered the working state and asked by the way. No, you can lead the way. Chenmu refused. Hearing Chenmu's refusal, Blay did not have any strange emotions. Instead, he enthusiastically introduced everything about Four Seasons City to Chenmu. From Blay's mouth, Chenmu also had some understanding of this city located on the border of the Far East Territory. Sir, we are here. This is the royal family's bank in Four Seasons City. When they arrived, Blay stopped and looked at Chenmu respectfully and said. Chenmu also moved his eyes to the bank in front of him. It's called a bank, but it's actually a 3-story attic. Chenmu understood that this was the unique architectural style of the royal bank. In all the cities in the kingdom, there is only one type of bank, and that is the royal bank. There were already many people coming in and out of the attic. Sir, I'll wait for you outside. Before Chenmu could speak, Bray spoke with a look of tact. Chenmu nodded and stepped into the bank. Sir, how can I help you? As soon as he came in, a girl in a uniform and good-looking came up to him, leaning forward slightly and speaking respectfully. Chenmu looked at the girl. His eyes did not change. I need to exchange some gold coins with gold coupons. Sir, come with me. Can you tell me how many gold coins you need to exchange? I'll take you to the corresponding window. Chenmu thought for a moment and said, let's exchange 1,000 first. Hearing Chenmu's words, the girl's eyes showed a hint of joy. Okay, young master, I'll take you there. Even her voice was much softer. In the words of Chenmu's previous life, it was to pick it up. The girl led Chenmu to the corresponding window sill and left. The process of exchanging gold coins went smoothly. The royal bank had been standing in the Winter Kingdom for hundreds of years, so it naturally came up with the most convenient method. The person inside the window sill handed Chenmu a bag filled with 1,000 gold coins. Chenmu took it and carried it, and found that it was still quite heavy. Of course, this weight is for ordinary people, but for Chenmu, this weight can be said to be negligible. When he arrived at the hall, Chenmu saw the girl who had just led him to exchange gold coins, so when passing by the girl, Chen Mu casually picked up a gold coin from his purse and handed it to the girl. Tip. Seeing the surprise and astonishment in the girl's eyes, Chen Mu smiled lightly and spoke. Thank you, sir. That the girl understood that she had met a generous nobleman this time, so she bowed respectfully. Chen Mu accidentally saw a touch of Snow White. I have to say that this gift is quite white, quite respectful. After exchanging the gold coins, Chen Mu handed a gold coin to Blai. I'm troubling you these days. Sir, I promise to be here whenever you call. No one is more familiar with Four Seasons City than me, Bray said in surprise. Chen Mu was the first generous and polite nobleman he had seen. The people he received in the past never looked at him seriously. Chen Mu just said one sentence, which made him feel like he would die for his confidant. Chen Mu first asked Blai to find him a place to live. He would probably stay in Four Seasons City for 2 or 3 days, so it would be impossible to live without a place. When passing by the shop, Chen Mu bought a small money bag with 3 silver coins. The money bag is very small, only about the size of a palm, and can hold up to 50 gold coins. Blai acted quickly and immediately helped Chen Mu find a relatively good hotel in Four Seasons City. This kind of hotel is a building similar to a small apartment and is the first choice for most people who come to Four Seasons City. When he arrived at the hotel room, Chen Mu first called out the space key in the spiritual sea, and then put the gold scroll and the map into the small dimensional space. Only the small purse and the 50 gold coins in the purse were left. In the next few days, Bui led Chen Mu around the Four Seasons City. With a gold coin paid by Chen Mu, Blai became extremely enthusiastic. In the blink of an eye, it was 3 days later, in a horse farm in Four Seasons City. Sir, this is already the best horse in our racecourse. I guarantee that there will be no better horse than this horse in the entire Four Seasons City. In front of Chen Mu, a fat man wearing gorgeous clothes spoke confidently. Is this a golden lion head? Chen Mu touched the pale golden hair of the horse in front of him and said. Sir, don't be ridiculous. How can a small city like Four Seasons City have a golden lion's head? But this yellow horse has a little bit of the blood of the golden lion's head. There is absolutely no problem in traveling 1,000 miles a day. The fat man's tone became a little embarrassed. Chen Mu understood that the owner of the racecourse had not lied to him. After looking around, he found that this yellow horse was indeed the best horse in the racecourse, so Chen Mu nodded. That's it. P.S. Thank you Insomnia Gain and ZG Farmers for your monthly votes. I love you. Please read. Chapter 55 Just You. Or the Black Snake Family. Please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 55 Just You. And the Black Snake Family. Please read on. The horse's hooves flew, and a cloud of dust was splashed. Chen Mu gently pulled the reins, keeping his body steady. The surrounding scenery quickly retreated, and Chen Mu's face was calm and composed. The speed of the yellow horse was not slow, and the horse galloping in the wilderness was also a magnificent picture from a distance. It was already the 2nd day since Chen Mu left Four Seasons City, and he was no longer in the territory of the Far East Territory, to be precise. His current location was the Blackwater Territory of the East River Province. It was just in the wilderness on the border of the Blackwater Territory, and there was still some distance from the city of the Blackwater Territory. Chen Mu, who was familiar with the map, was not unfamiliar with the Blackwater Territory. In fact, compared with the Far East Territory, the Blackwater Territory was larger. The entire Blackwater Territory was the territory of a kingdom earl named Lope Evans. Lope Evans is also known as the Lord of Blackwater or the Earl of Black Snake. The Evans family is also a well-known big family in Dongha Province. If the map is correct, then this place should be about 200 miles away from the city of Black River City, the outermost city of Blackwater Territory. Chen Mu, sitting on the Huang horse, thought slightly in his heart. The map of the kingdom has been memorized in his mind, and he can remember everything with just a little recollection. In this tour of the kingdom, the first territory he needs to pass is Blackwater Territory. Hiss! Suddenly, a subtle sound came into Chen Mu's ears. The next moment Chen Mu quickly tightened the reins, and the Huang horse neighed and stopped in place. The horse's hooves were raised, stirring up a large amount of dust. Chen Mu was not unfamiliar with this low-pitched whining sound that came into his ears. This is because the string wood produces elastic deformation and vibration when it is pulled, and the sound is made, in short, the sound made when the bowstring is pulled. Chenmu is a master of bows and arrows, so how could he be unfamiliar with such a sound? Sure enough, almost the moment he stopped his horse, an arrow appeared on the ground in front of him. The arrow was nailed to the ground, very close to Chenmu. It was obvious that the person who shot the arrow was targeting Chenmu. If Chenmu had not stopped his horse, the arrow would have hit Huang Liema. Chenmu's face became slightly gloomy, and his eyes moved to the place where the arrow light came from. At the same time, on the other side, on a small hill not too far from Chenmu. Who told you to shoot arrows? Almost the moment the arrow was shot, a middle-aged man lying on the hill said with an ugly face, and there was an unconcealable anger in his tone. Boss, didn't you say that you should shoot arrows when you see someone who is easy to bully? That the person who was yelled at was very young, and he said a little aggrieved when he heard the boss yelling at him. This guy has nothing on his body, only a horse is worth a little money. It's a thankless effort, and this kind of person who dares to ride a horse alone in the wilderness is the most difficult to provoke, and he has no eyes at all. The boss in this person's mouth, that is, the middle-aged man, said with regret. Boss, what can he do if he shoots alone? Let alone Xiaolu, we have so many brothers, how can we be afraid of him alone? Yes, boss, if it's you, just kill him directly, it won't waste any effort. The younger brothers around started to make noise, and the middle-aged man looked a little helpless. If it keeps going like this, something will happen sooner or later. Forget it, a quick battle and a quick decision. Since he has offended, then offend him to death. What's more, the reason for his anger is not fear, but it is not worth it, so they didn't mean to hide their whereabouts, walked out of the hill, and looked at Chenmu from a distance. Chenmu naturally noticed this group of people. Seeing Chenmu sitting on the horse motionless, the boss of this group of people, that is, Blue, breathed a sigh of relief. He thought Chenmu was scared silly, but he didn't know that he had already stepped into the gate of hell, so he led a group of people and ran towards Chenmu. Boy, leave the horse behind and go away. Blue looked at Chenmu who was sitting on the horse and looking at him calmly, and felt a little scared. He wanted to take action directly, but he ended up saying this. As soon as he said this, the younger brothers around him looked at their boss in surprise. Their boss Blue was known for his cruelty. When did he become so easy to talk to? Boy, our boss is kind and decided to spare your life. Why don't you go away quickly? Looking at Chenmu who still didn't move, the young man who had just shot the arrow spoke impatiently. Although he didn't know why his boss suddenly became kind and was ready to let this kid go, he didn't mean to go against his boss. Little did he know that Chenmu in front of them was not afraid to move, but was speechless to the extreme. Chenmu didn't expect that he would really encounter something like a robber. Maybe I'm really the protagonist. I can even meet someone who is looking for death. Then you can only blame your bad luck. In Chenmu's eyes, these people are full of flaws. Chenmu can see at a glance that these people's bodies are loose, and it's obvious that they have been eroded by alcohol and sex. Even the leader is only at the quasi-knight level. If such a person dares to block his way, it's no different from looking for death, so in his eyes, these people are no different from the dead. Chenmu is not used to talking to the dead. Then the next moment, the Lionheart sword hanging on the sword belt appeared in Chenmu's hand. The sun shone on the blade of the Lionheart sword, flashing a dazzling light. A silver-white light flashed, and one of the impatient faces remained on his face forever. That seems to be my body. This was the last thought in his mind, because the next moment, a headless corpse fell to the ground, and blood dyed one of the lands in this wilderness red. Chenmu didn't even use his chi for this sword. This sword was too fast, so fast that when Blue reacted, blood had already splashed on his face. He stayed where he was, and his whole body began to tremble unconsciously. And his younger brother's performance was almost the same as his. Formally, knight. I knew that something would happen sooner or later. Countless messy thoughts appeared in Blue's mind at this moment. The next moment, he dropped the sword in his hand, knelt heavily on the ground, his forehead against the ground, and the sweat on his forehead could not stop sliding down. Seeing the boss kneel down, the younger brothers also understood what happened at this time, so they knelt down one after another. At this time, no matter how stupid they were, they knew that they had hit a wall. And this iron plate was made of 24K titanium alloy. At this time and here, silence is better than sound. No one spoke, no one begged for mercy, and no one dared to make any sound. Chenmu didn't expect that the effect of this sword was so good, and he didn't expect these people to be so sensible, and they knelt down directly without any intention of risking their lives. It made him a little embarrassed, but since they dared to intercept him, they naturally had to be prepared to die. Chenmu obviously didn't mean to let these people go. With a calm face, he gently raised the silver-white knight sword, just like the god of death raising his sickle. "My lord, wait a minute, don't rush to do it. We are from the Black Snake family, the people of the Blackwater Lord Black Snake Earl." Blue, with his forehead against the ground, seemed to realize something and spoke quickly. It seemed that he thought Chenmu might not know much about the Black Snake family, and deliberately emphasized the tone in the second half of the sentence. After saying this, the scene fell silent again. The sweat on Blue's forehead kept dripping. He never felt that time could be so long, until he heard a sentence, which was also the last sentence he heard in his life. "Just you. And the Black Snake family." Please read more. Chapter 56 Black River City, please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 56 Black River City, seeking for further reading. Is it really related to the Black Snake family? Chenmu thought that this person was pulling the banner randomly to save his life, but he didn't expect that the Black Snake family was actually involved. In Chenmu's hand, he was playing with a dark badge with two snakes surrounding it. The symbol on this badge was familiar to Chenmu. It was the emblem of the Black Snake family. The Black Snake family still has a business of raising bandits and robbing money. Chenmu muttered to himself, but he didn't have any other emotions. I just didn't expect that the Black Snake family would still raise such a group of trash to block the road and steal money. Chenmu plundered a lot of property from these people. No need to guess, he knew that this was definitely not the first time this group of people had done this. They were so skilled at begging for mercy, but what about the people of the Black Snake family? If they offend him, they will be killed. Chenmu didn't think the Black Snake family would go to war with him for a few gangsters who didn't even have official knights. Chenmu didn't even think that the Black Snake family could find him. After all, this was a wilderness and it was thousands of miles away from the core area of the Black Snake family. After casually disposing of the bodies of these people, Chenmu climbed back onto Huang Lai's horse. The outline of Heihe City gradually appeared in Chenmu's eyes, and the giant city wall gave a majestic feeling when viewed from a distance. "We're here, Black River City." The memory of the kingdom map in his mind made Chenmu certain that this was Black River City. So many people. Chenmu rode Huang Lai's horse and slowly approached the city gate from the main road. At a glance, he saw that at least hundreds of people were queuing to enter the city. "Dismount, routine inspection." Hearing what the guard said, Chenmu got off his horse. Next, Chenmu realized why so many people lined up and it took so long for him to enter the city, because the interrogation when entering the city was too cumbersome. The city guard in front of Chenmu also looked a little ugly. He had been hinting at this for a long time as to why the boy in front of him didn't have any sharp eyesight. "Didn't you have eyesight or didn't see what the people who entered the city did before?" He was also a little impatient in his heart, so he pointed at Chenmu's lion heart sword hanging on the sword belt. "This cannot be brought into the city, please keep it with me first." After saying that, he reached out to pick up the knight sword hanging on Chenmu's waist, but the next moment, his wrist was pinched by Chenmu, causing pain. "I haven't heard that Black River City has any rules against bringing weapons into the city." Chenmu frowned and said. At this time, the city guard also reacted. As a city guard of Black River City, his eyesight was not weak, he was a knight's apprentice, and now he had no resistance when his wrist was pinched. It was obvious that Chenmu in front of him was someone he could not afford to offend. He is just an ordinary city guard who can't afford to offend too many people. What's more, the person in front of him is not a citizen of the Blackwater territory. Who knows if he has any noble status, and it will do him no good to break up. Then his ugly face disappeared instantly and turned into a smile. "I'm sorry, sir, you can go into the city, but outsiders need a silver coin to enter the city." The city guards laughed and said nothing about weapons. Chenmu casually took out a silver coin from his purse and handed it to the guard, then led Huang Liema into Heihe City. Looking at Chenmu's back, the smile on the city guard's face disappeared and turned into that stinky look again. He turned to look at the next person and said, "Dismount, routine inspection." Entering the city, the scene of Heihe City came into Chenmu's eyes. Chenmu's first impression of this city was that it was dirty and messy. There is some garbage and debris accumulated around the street, and there are even some puddles emitting an unpleasant smell. The people on the roads in the city turned a blind eye to these things, as if they were already used to them. And just as Chenmu entered the city, he saw a person's package being cut open, but the person didn't notice it at all. Not to mention, compared with Far East City, even the environment of Four Seasons City is several times better than here. How can a border city, which represents the facade of a territory, be dirty and messy, and the people of the Black Snake family don't care? Chenmu had some doubts in his heart. You must know that the border cities of a territory are very important both geographically and strategically. Generally, the owners of the territory attach great importance to such border cities, but in Black River City, there is no sign of being taken seriously. The entire city is like an expanded slum. No wonder there are many people entering the city here and even more people leaving the city. Sir, this is your first time coming to Heiha City. With 3 silver coins, I can act as your guide in Heiha City these days. Just as Chenmu was looking around, a thin black boy came up to him and said. Chenmu moved his eyes to the thin black boy in front of him. How do you know that I will only stay in Black River City for a few days? Sir, stop making trouble. You look like a noble. You won't be able to stay in a place like Black River City for long. If you want to settle in Blackwater territory, I recommend you to go to Snakehead City, which is one of the largest cities in Blackwater territory. More suitable for living. Hichu spoke, the desire in his tone not being concealed at all when he mentioned Snakehead City. Chenmu casually took out 3 silver coins and handed them to Hichu. Seeing the silver coin, Hichu's eyes lit up and he quickly took the silver coin and put it into his pocket. Tell me a brief introduction to Black River City. Chenmu spoke softly, and Hichu nodded quickly. As you can see, Black River City is dirty and messy. It is said that the owner of the Blackwater territory, Earl Black Snake, has abandoned the city. Sir, I just saw that you seem to have an argument with the city guards in front of the city gate. Having said this, Hichu lowered his voice subconsciously. Before Chenmu could speak, he continued, Master, I know that you must have a high status, but the last thing you should not provoke in Heiha City is the city guards. They are the biggest local gangsters in Heiha City. Some people even say. At this point, Hichu seemed to realize that he had said a little too much, so he fell silent for a moment. The biggest local snake. Does that mean there are some smaller ones? Chenmu became interested and asked. Yes, you can't mess with the Vine Tavern in the east of the city and the Hunters Guild in the west of the city, especially the Hunters Guild, which is said to be a branch of the royal city's hunting mansion. If the employer was interested, Nahitu would naturally not hide anything and told Chenmu everything he knew. Hichu's few simple words gave Chenmu a rough understanding of the distribution of power in Black River City. First take me to find a place to park my horse, and then take me to a place to live with the best environment. As for the introduction to Black River City, I will tell you on the way. Chenmu spoke softly, and Hichu nodded quickly and led the way. By the way, Chenmu was introduced to everything he knew and could say about Black River City. Sir, Black River City is the city on the edge of the Blackwater territory. There are. Listening to Hichu's words, Chenmu gradually constructed an outline of Black River City in his mind. Use only one word to describe Heiha City, that's chaos. The phrase mountains are high and emperors are far away is vividly reflected in Heiha City in the Blackwater territory. Please read. Chapter 57 The Way to Death, please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 57 The Way to Death, seeking for further reading, Black River City. Inside the Redbud Inn apartment, Chenmu closed his eyes tightly and sat cross-legged on the bed. Compared with the calm outside, Chenmu's mental sea was not calm at this moment. This is too difficult. The next moment, Chenmu opened his eyes and sighed slightly in his heart. He was just trying to engrave the spiritual eye witchcraft into the spiritual sea. We can't call it a failure, nor can we call it a success. If we had to say it, Chenmu had already achieved 149% of the success. Inscribing witchcraft in the spiritual sea requires engraving corresponding mysterious symbols in the spiritual sea according to the witchcraft inscription method, and finally forming a witchcraft structure. Generally, relatively simple witchcraft may only require the engraving of a few mysterious symbols. But spiritual eye witchcraft requires 49 different mysterious symbols to be engraved in the spiritual sea, and finally combined into a stable, spiritual eye, witchcraft structure. This difficulty can be imagined. Although Chenmu has successfully engraved a mysterious symbol in the spiritual sea, this becomes more and more difficult the further back he goes. After Chenmu had just successfully carved a mysterious symbol, he also tried to carve a second one. I found that compared to engraving the first symbol, the second one was more difficult. Just when Chenmu was about to go all out and continue to engrave, there was a knock on the door of the apartment, so Chenmu got up and opened the door to the apartment. A thin black boy suddenly stood at the door. The skinny black boy looked a little anxious. "Hichu, why are you here?" That this skinny black boy is clearly the Hichu who helped him lead the way when he first arrived in Black River City. They have been getting along well these days. Seeing Chenmu open the door, he breathed a sigh of relief, but still said anxiously, "Sir, please leave Heiha City as soon as possible. I have received news that the city guards are going to attack you." After hearing this, Chenmu said without changing his expression, "Don't be anxious, speak slowly." Seeing that Chenmu didn't have any mood swings, Hichu was a little stunned, but he calmed down. "Sir, we guides all have small groups. Today when I was chatting with my friends, I accidentally learned that the city guards seem to be targeting you. This situation is normal in Heiha City. The city guards will focus on some people who come to Heiha City, and they will not even hide it at all, and then these people will disappear inexplicably." Hichu spoke quickly, with unconcealed disgust and fear in his voice when he talked about the city guards. Hearing this, Chenmu frowned slightly. He doesn't seem to have much contact with the city guards. Just because he pinched a guard's wrist when entering the city, he was targeted. This is a bit too overbearing. According to your words, this has happened more than once. No one cares about it. Just let the city guards murder people who come into the city. Who will come to Heiha City if this continues? Hearing Chenmu's words, Hichu's expression became a little helpless. Who will take care of it? Who dares to take care of it? The city guards are the biggest gangsters in Heiha City, and the Lord of Heiha City is the leader of the gangsters in Heiha City. There have been dozens, if not hundreds, of outsiders who have died in Heiha City over the years, and those who had direct conflicts with the city guards have never left Heiha City again. Hichu's words fully demonstrated the strength of the city guards in Black River City. This can no longer be regarded as a local snake. It is not an exaggeration to say that it can cover the sky with one hand, but Chenmu felt a little ridiculous. If you keep doing this, aren't you afraid of hitting a brick wall? Aren't you afraid of offending people you shouldn't offend? In Chenmu's opinion, this kind of unscrupulous behavior is a recipe for death. Since the city guards are so powerful, why did you come to tell me this? Shouldn't it be the safest way for you to break off the relationship with me? After all, we have only known each other for a few days. Chenmu moved his eyes to Hichu and said. He spoke very bluntly. He wanted to see how Hichu would answer. Hichu obviously knew how powerful the city guards were, but in this situation, he could still take the risk to remind him. Chenmu didn't think it was his own domineering spirit that conquered Hichu. Hearing Chenmu's direct words, Hichu smiled bitterly. I knew I couldn't hide it from the young master. I want to leave Black River City. I want to go to Snakehead City. Hichu's voice was firm. When he learned from his friends that the city guards were going to attack Chenmu, he knew that this might be his chance. Maybe it's his only chance in this life. You want me to take you to Snakehead City, and you are so sure that I won't be killed by the city guards and then implicate you? Maybe I will die under the sword of the city guards. Chenmu looked at Hichu with a half-smile and said, I have to say that Chenmu saw something in this thin, dark boy that many people didn't have. This courage alone is not something ordinary people can possess. To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm also betting that the casino guards can't do anything to you. Hichu spoke decisively. He had no intention of concealing Chenmu's thoughts. Chenmu can be said to be the most special person Hichu has ever seen in his life, but to be honest, he is not sure whether Chenmu can survive the disaster of the city guards. After all, in his eyes, Chenmu was too young. I can take you to Snakehead City on the way, but after we get there, we will have nothing to do with each other, and I won't help you anymore. Sir, that's enough, Hichu said in surprise. Since Chenmu dares to say this, he must be confident. He knew he had made the right bet and seized the opportunity. As for whether Chenmu was bluffing or deceiving him, he too no longer thought about it. In fact, up to now, he was still betting, but at this time, he could only go all the way. So now, tell me the strongholds of those city guards who want to target me in Heiha City. After Chenmu finished speaking, he too suddenly raised his head with astonishment in his eyes. You! It was night, and Heiha City was pitch black. Darkness and silence were the main themes of Heiha City at night. Of course, this was in the eyes of ordinary people. Heiha City had one thing in common with Four Seasons City, that is, there was a curfew, and people were not allowed to go out at night. Chenmu shuttled through Heiha City like a black shadow. You came in so easily. There was not even a guard. Entering a stronghold of city guards in Heiha City, Chenmu looked around. It's no wonder. After all, this is the territory of the city guards. They would never think that someone would be brave enough to come here at night. Chenmu's ears moved, and a voice came into his ears. Chenmu lowered his footsteps and approached a building similar to a tent. There is a saying that it is better to come at the right time than to come early. At this time, the voice coming from the tent was discussing himself. Even Chenmu sighed in his heart whether it was too coincidental. It's just a young noble boy. What's the harm in killing him? He is wearing gorgeous clothes and probably carries a lot of gold scrolls. Okay, I hope he is not a threat as you said. Maybe there will be some threats. Anyway, he has a strong hand, but at most he is a quasi-knight. Come, drink. I'm sorry to bother you with this matter. Just as more than a dozen people were toasting, the candlelight in the tent trembled. The young man with a calm face gently pulled up the curtain of the tent, and the eyes of the dozen people instantly moved to Chenmu's face. The quick mover instantly picked up the weapon beside him, but one of them seemed to have seen a ghost, and his pupils widened instantly. Who are you, kid? He. Chenmu chuckled. We meet again. Please read more. Chapter 58, Flower Plain. Please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 58, Flower Plain. Please read later. What's going on? How much did you drink yesterday? Why don't you go to change shifts so late? A middle-aged man muttered, kicking the fence in front of him with disdain, his face a little ugly. Walking into the city guard's base, the middle-aged man frowned immediately. His nose moved, and he seemed to smell something special. Is this blood? Google search TWKAN. He was not unfamiliar with this smell, and the sudden smell of blood made the man's face change drastically. The man quickly ran to the tent in the base. The closer he got to the tent, the stronger the smell of blood became. The next moment, his hand grasped the hilt of the long sword at his waist, and suddenly lifted the curtain of the tent with force. But the scene he saw in front of him made him dumbfounded. The blood almost soaked the entire tent, emitting a strong smell of blood. More than a dozen corpses fell to the ground, and each corpse had a huge cut on the neck. This. On the other side, in the wilderness, Chenmu rode a yellow horse and galloped in the wilderness, and behind him was he too, who was also riding a horse. The two were Chenmu and he too, who had already left Heiha City. It was outrageous. The procedures for entering Heiha City were complicated and troublesome, but there was no need to go through any procedures to leave the city. Even the city guards guarding the city gate didn't even look at them. After assassinating the city guards, Chenmu originally planned to take He2 out directly. After all, the city guards couldn't stop Chenmu, who was already a great knight. But what he didn't expect was that the city gates were wide open after dawn, and the few people he killed seemed to have not been discovered yet. So he and He2 rode out of the city gate almost leisurely, without anyone stopping them. According to the map, Heiha City and Shisho City are about 1,000 miles apart. If you ride a horse, you can arrive there tomorrow at the latest. The surrounding scene was rapidly receding, and Chenmu muttered to himself. In fact, if Chenmu had not taken care of Hichu's feelings behind him, he could have arrived at Shisho City as early as that night if he rode alone. However, since he promised Hichu to take him to Shisho City, Chenmu would naturally not break his promise. It just so happened that Shisho City was also the route he needed to pass in his plan. At this time, Chenmu already understood why he was intercepted by robbers that day. At that time, he joked in his heart that it was because he was the protagonist, but it was not this lame reason, because it is not a coincidence that robbers block the road and rob money or even life in Heishui territory. This situation is even more common the deeper you go into Heishui territory, and the deeper you go into Heishui territory, the more robbers there are. In the few hours since leaving Heihe City, Chenmu and his companions have even encountered 2 waves of robbers. Of course, none of the 2 waves of robbers survived, and they could only blame their bad luck for targeting Chenmu, and now he too looked at Chenmu with awe. After all, he had seen Chenmu's true strength, what he thought, and he knew that he had a real thigh. The reason why he didn't dare to leave Heihe City alone was because he was too weak, so weak that anyone in the wilderness could kill him. Again, seeing a few more people appear on the road that he had to pass 100 meters away, Chenmu was a little speechless. This is the first wave of people who took the initiative to die. Chenmu had no intention of stopping the yellow horse, and still gently swung the reins. He picked up a longbow from his back, and then drew a few arrows from the arrow box tied to the side of the horse. Chenmu on the horse's back bent the bow and put the arrows on, and the bowstring was fully pulled, making a harsh sound. The next moment, 3 arrows turned into 3 silver lights and shot at the people who blocked the road 100 meters away. The arrows were too fast, and the people who blocked the road did not expect Chenmu to shoot directly, so they did not move as if they did not react. This process took less than a second, and the throats of the 3 people were pierced by the sharp arrows. Chenmu did not put down the longbow in his hand, but took advantage of the situation to pull out a few more sharp arrows from the arrow box. 4 more silver lights flashed, and the remaining 4 people also became 4 corpses. Huang Liema stepped on the corpses of these people and ran past, and Chenmu did not even look at the corpses on the ground. Instead, he too, who was following him, looked at the corpses on the ground, with a hint of sympathy in his eyes, but the next moment, this look disappeared, and his lips moved slightly as if he was muttering something. It's so miserable. The 3rd wave. As time passed, 3 suns fell one after another, and Chenmu's horse continued to gallop in the wilderness, until the afterglow of the sunset sprinkled on this wilderness. Chenmu also saw another color in front of his eyes besides the withered yellow. The scenery in front of him suddenly became colorful. Compared with the yellow wilderness before, these colors can really make people's eyes bright. Chenmu's eyes really brightened. Chenmu was not unfamiliar with this place, because the name of this place was written on the map. This can be said to be a relatively famous area in Heishui territory, Flower Plain. Chenmu slowed down his speed. Hichu behind Chenmu saw that Chenmu slowed down, so he also slowed down. It's beautiful! Hichu almost exclaimed. Hichu, who has lived in the poor area of Heihe City for many years, has never seen such a beautiful scenery. Hearing Hichu's words, Chenmu couldn't help but nodded. Even Chenmu saw such a wide variety of flowers for the first time. The flower garden of the Golden Lion family was nothing compared to this. Compared with the withered wilderness, the flower plain can indeed be said to be extremely beautiful. Countless flowers are almost all over the plain. Being in it is really like being in a sea of flowers. It is no exaggeration to say that this is a sea of flowers. This sea of flowers is undoubtedly a joyful and intoxicating place. Even Chenmu is no exception, so he instinctively slowed down the speed of the yellow horse. Chenmu, who was in the sea of flowers, seemed to be in a colorful garden. The afterglow of the setting sun shone in this sea of flowers. The petals under the afterglow were as soft as silk, and Chenmu could smell the charming fragrance. In the sea of flowers, Chenmu could see a lot of colors, as well as flowers of various shapes and sizes. Each color of flowers has its own unique charm. The flowers in the sea of flowers are distributed on the ground and trees, almost covering Chenmu's entire field of vision. This atmosphere in the sea of flowers is something Chenmu has never experienced before, whether in his previous life or this life. What is the purpose of traveling around the kingdom? Isn't it to experience the various scenery in the kingdom? If it is only for improving strength, then Chenmu, who has a simulator, can also improve his strength by staying in the manor. Let's go. After experiencing the beauty of the sea of flowers, it is natural to continue on the road. Hearing Chenmu's words, he too nodded quickly, and the confusion in his eyes disappeared. Swinging the reins, the speed of the Huang Lai horse returned to normal. The colorful scene began to retreat rapidly, passing through the flower plain, and they were not far from the Snakehead City. P.S. Thanks to the Big Devil Xiao Su brother for the monthly ticket. Please follow up. Chapter 59 The Mysterious Black Snake City and the Making of the Longbow. Please read later. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 59 Mysterious Black Snake City and Forging Longbows. Seeking follow-up reading. Inside the Jasmine Tavern in Snakehead City, at the counter of the tavern, several young men and women in luxurious clothes were chatting in a low voice. Among these people, the only two girls looked to the other side from time to time, and on the other side of the counter of the tavern, Viri, you stole our limelight as soon as you came. A young man handed Chenmu a glass of wine casually, and his tone seemed a little blaming. Hearing this, Chenmu smiled lightly and did not respond, took the wine glass and took a sip of the wine. At this time, it has been nearly 10 days since Chenmu arrived in Snakehead City. It must be said that Snakehead City is a world apart from Black River City. If Chenmu had not stayed in Snakehead City for a few days, he would have found it hard to imagine that the two cities in the same territory could be so different. If Black River City is an enlarged slum, then there is no doubt that Snakehead City is an enlarged rich area. There is almost no garbage on the streets here, and people walking in the city are all dressed very neatly. Chenmu and the black-haired young man Bryn in front of him actually met by accident. It can also be said that there is no acquaintance without fighting. Chenmu, who had just arrived in Snakehead City, almost taught Bryn a lesson. In short, the relationship between the two is not bad now. At least Chenmu did not take this joke to heart. By the way, I found out the place where you asked me to find a good longbow. I don't pay much attention to these things usually, but I asked for you these few days. There are very few blacksmith shops in the city. If you want to say where you can make a good longbow, the old James blacksmith shop in the center of the city should be one of them. Seeing the faint smile on Chenmu's face, Bryn shook his head helplessly. He knocked on the counter with his hand, refilled a glass of wine, and then spoke. Thank you, I will go and have a look. Hearing Bryn's words, Chenmu spoke softly to show that he understood. This was just a casual remark he made before, but he didn't expect Bryn to take it to heart. The longbow obtained from the robbers was of poor quality. Chenmu broke it after pulling it twice. That's why he wanted to buy a good longbow again. After all, a longbow is more convenient than a long sword to travel around the kingdom. Hearing Chenmu speak, Bryn seemed to remember something and said, Oh, and I also asked about the map you asked me to help you pay attention to, but it's not for sale at all. I have never paid attention to this before. From the time I was born to now, I have never been to Black Snake City. Bryn's tone was also a little surprised, as if he was a little surprised that he couldn't buy a map with his connections. Hearing this, Chenmu's eyes also showed a hint of confusion. In fact, it's not just Bryn. After Chenmu came to Snakehead City, he also asked several stores whether they sold maps leading to Black Snake City, but there is no doubt that none of them were for sale, and the reason why Chenmu wanted to buy this kind of map is also very simple. That is, there is no road from Snakehead City to Black Snake City on the big map he has. Even on the big map, only the 3 words Black Snake City were vaguely written in the territory of Blackwater Territory. As for where Black Snake City is, there is no mark on how to get to Black Snake City. This is completely different from Snakehead City and Blackwater City. This Black Snake City seems to be extremely mysterious. Everyone knows that it is in Blackwater Territory, but no one knows its specific location. Do you know anyone who has been to Black Snake City? Chenmu took a sip of wine and asked. Bryn frowned and thought, and after a while he shook his head. Never. In fact, if you hadn't mentioned Black Snake City before, I would have even forgotten that there was this city in Blackwater Territory. This city has a very low presence in Blackwater Territory. This made Chenmu a little surprised. According to him, Black Snake City should be a core city like Far East City. He never thought that even the natives of Blackwater Territory were very unfamiliar with this city. What about the Lord of Blackwater, the Earl of Black Snake? Have you never seen him? Chenmu asked again. This time, Bryn spoke more decisively. Never. The one who controls Snakehead City is also from the Black Snake family, but not the Blackwater Lord. This. Chenmu frowned slightly and turned the wine glass in his hand. In fact, whether he wanted to buy the map of Black Snake City or ask about the route to Black Snake City, Chenmu had a reason. That is, he had a letter from Earl Arthur to deliver to the Black Snake Earl. Otherwise, Chenmu would not be interested in this so-called Black Snake City. You want to go to Black Snake City? In fact, I know someone who must know where Black Snake City is. Seeing Chenmu thinking, Bryn spoke again. Before Chenmu continued to ask, Bryn had already said this person. That is the Lord of Snakehead City. He must know the specific location of Black Snake City. Hearing this, Chenmu looked at Bryn speechlessly. I'm not stupid. Of course I know that the Lord of Snakehead City knows the location of Black Snake City. Bryn seemed to realize that he had said something stupid, so he smiled awkwardly, but Chenmu did have this thought in his mind. Maybe I really need to ask the Lord of the Snake City. Time passed, and a few days later, at this time, Chenmu, who came to the central area of Snakehead City, found a blacksmith shop according to the location provided by Bryn. Chenmu looked up and saw the 5 big characters James Blacksmith Shop on the door plaque. It's here. Chenmu stepped into the blacksmith shop. This exposed outside is just a facade, and the real blacksmith shop is a renovated small courtyard. Entering the courtyard, Chenmu found that it was not small. There was only a middle-aged man with a black beard busy in the courtyard. The big hammer in his hand kept hitting, making a loud sound of steel colliding. Want to buy weapons? They are all there, you can choose by yourself. Seeing Chenmu, the middle-aged man with a black beard subconsciously stayed on Chenmu's face for a second. When he found that it was a young boy, he spoke casually. When did formal knights become so common? Chenmu said to himself, this kind of strength of hitting steel is at least the realm of formal knights. As for whether it is a great knight, Chenmu can't tell with his naked eyes. Chenmu saw that the middle-aged man with black beard said something and ignored him, but was busy with his own things, so he walked around the yard by himself. As for the weapons that the middle-aged man asked him to choose at will, they were piled up in a mess on the ground. I thought they were scraps. Chenmu casually looked through the weapons thrown on the ground, and there was a touch of surprise in his eyes. These weapons that were casually thrown aside and suspected to be discarded were actually rare fine products. At this time, these fine weapons were casually discarded aside. However, Chenmu did not find the longbow in this pile of weapons, so he approached the middle-aged man with black beard and asked, do you have a longbow? Hearing Chenmu's words, James turned his head and looked at Chenmu in surprise. You want to buy a bow? I don't have a finished bow here, I need to make it custom. Chenmu nodded, then make one custom. James stood up, looked Chenmu up and down, and then took out a ruler from behind. Stretch out your hand, I'll measure it. James measured Chenmu from head to toe, even his height, arm span, and leg length. It can be customized. Just tell me how much bow you want. It's expensive to customize a longbow here. After asking everything clearly, James spoke again. The deposit is 50 gold, a total of 300 gold, come back in 3 days to pick up the bow. P.S. Thanks to Zhang Daosan for the monthly ticket. Please read. Chapter 60 New Simulation, please read later. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 60 New Simulation, seeking for further reading. Time passed, and a few days passed. Chenmu sat cross-legged on the bed in the Shisho City Hotel apartment, running the meditation method. Although limited by his talent, Chenmu's improvement in meditation practice in reality is not very high, but he will still persist in practicing. The next moment, the spiritual sea fluctuated slightly, and the space key suspended in the center of the spiritual sea appeared in his hand. Chenmu thought, and no more than 10 magic stones emitting lavender halo appeared in front of him. Then a transparent light blue light curtain appeared in front of Chenmu's eyes. Name, Chenmu. Spirit, 2.5, Physique, 6.8. Night Realm, Great Knight. Wizard Realm, Level 1 Wizard Apprentice. Breathing Technique, Golden Lion Breathing Technique, Perfect. Meditation Method. Black Tower Meditation Method, Introduction 13/400. Night Skills, Lion Heart / Mastery 1359/1600, Armor Splitting / Mastery 591/1600, Star Rocket, Mastery 630/1600, Double Blade Continuous / Mastery 128/1600, Charged Strike, Mastery 113/1600, Burst, Skilled 732/800. Witchcraft, None. Number of simulations, 1. The new simulation has been refreshed, and Shenmue has no plans to accumulate in this simulation. Do you want to enable life simulation? Starting this simulation requires 10 magic stones. Turn on. Shenmue did not hesitate and said silently in his heart, in this simulation, he wanted to confirm some of his previous conjectures. The next moment, the color of the 10 magic stones in front of him began to slowly fade until they disappeared. At the same time, the attribute information on the light blue light screen began to disappear and turned into black fonts. Life simulation has been started. Because the simulator version is too low, only text simulation is supported. 18 years old, traveling around the kingdom, you step out of the Far East territory from the direction of Four Seasons City, passing through Black River City, the Wasteland, and the Flower Plains to reach Snakehead City. Finally, you went from Snakehead City to Black Snake City. You met Earl Black Snake as you wished and handed the letter to him. He appreciated you very much and entertained you warmly. In the same year, you continued your travels and stepped out of the Blackwater territory to the edge of the East River province. 19 years old, traveling around the kingdom. While traveling around the kingdom, he did not forget to practice meditation and the witchcraft of engraving the spiritual eye. 20 years old, traveling around the kingdom, practicing meditation, and inscribing witchcraft. You have benefited a lot from what you have seen along the way. 21 years old, traveling to the royal city, you met your eldest brother Nicholas Weasley. You attended a banquet hosted by the royal family. You used your charm to get to know many outstanding noble girls. 22 years old, after returning from traveling in the kingdom, your father asked you to take charge of some of the family's properties. You did not refuse. While taking charge of some of the family's properties, you did not forget to practice meditation and the witchcraft of engraving the spiritual eye. 23 years old, you told your father that you wanted to marry, have children, and make some contributions to the growth of the Golden Lion family. Your father was very confused and felt that this was not your character, but he still agreed and introduced you to him in the same year. Got several outstanding noble girls. 24 years old, this year you often went to the Dawn territory and hooked up with Nalian, the youngest daughter of the Marquis of Chensi. In the same year, the Golden Lion family and the Chensi family got married, and you married Nalian. 25 years old, you and Nalian live a happy life, and you never tire of it. Finally, your wife is pregnant. 26 years old, the family business is flourishing with your help behind the scenes. Of course, you still practice meditation and inscription witchcraft day after day. In the same year, your wife gave birth to a son and a daughter. 28 years old, your father passed the title of Earl to you. You inherited the Far East territory and became the Far East Lord. In the same year, your second son was born. 29 years old, after inheriting the title of Earl, you began to reorganize the family's property, integrate it and hand it over to people you trust, while you stayed behind the scenes and started raising children. 30 years old, you married two noble girls as concubines. In the same year, both of your concubines became pregnant. 31 years old, two concubines gave birth to 3 sons for you. In the same year, after discussing with Nalian, you decided to take your eldest son to test the wizard's qualifications. Over the years, you have instilled in your eldest son Zeus the idea of returning to the subcontinent after achieving success in practice. Your eldest son was detected to have second-class wizard qualifications, which shocked the entire kingdom. Your eldest son went to sea. 32 years old, practice meditation and engraving witchcraft, and create human beings when nothing happens. In the same year, your wife Nalian became pregnant again, and you were pleasantly surprised. 33 years old, your wife Nalian gave birth to a son for you again. In the same year, your 2 concubines also became pregnant. 34 years old, your 2 concubines gave birth to a son and a daughter for you. In the same year, you married 2 more concubines. Your father, Earl Arthur, advised you to be more restrained. He was afraid that you would sink into gentleness and be unable to break through. Epic night. 35 years old, the Lord War broke out. Because the relationship between the Golden Lion family became complicated under your management, it was not involved in this Lord War. In the same year, your two newly married concubines became pregnant. 36 years old, two concubines gave birth to two sons for you. In the same year, you took your three sons to test your wizard qualifications, one is 3rd level, one is 4th level, and one has no wizard qualifications. You chose to send your two sons with wizard qualifications to go to sea. Before going to sea, you specifically warned your two younger sons. 38 years old, I took my son to test my wizard qualifications and came back disappointed. 40 years old, take your son and daughter to test for wizard qualifications. Only your daughter has 5th class qualifications, so you take both your son and daughter back because you know that 5th class qualifications have little hope on the road to wizarding. 41 years old, take your two sons to test their qualifications. Fortunately, both of them have 3rd class wizard qualifications, so you send them both on the ship to the wizarding continent. 42 years old, you never tire of creating humans and then marrying a concubine. 43 years old, create a human being and take a concubine. 44 years old, create a human being and take a concubine. 46 years old, your father, Earl Arthur, broke the barrier of great knights and became an epic knight of the kingdom. 52 years old, in these years, you have married a wife, Nalian, and 10 concubines. The core members of the Golden Lion family have also grown rapidly. There are as many as 12 children sent to the wizarding continent by you, among which the most talented nothing better than your eldest son Zeus. 55 years old, insist on practicing meditation and the witchcraft of engraving the spiritual eye. Long-term indulgence will make your body a little worse, but it is not a big problem. 58 years old, this is the last time you send your descendants to the wizarding continent. So far, you have sent a total of 15 direct bloodlines to the wizarding continent. 60 years old, another Lord War breaks out. This time the Golden Lion family no longer hides, its territory expands massively, and you are granted the title of Marquis by the kingdom. 65 years old, continuously practice meditation and engraved spiritual eye witchcraft. 70 years old, there is no news about the descendants you sent to the wizarding continent, and the inscription of the spiritual eye witchcraft has also reached its bottleneck. 80 years old, there is still no news. You pass the title of Marquis to your son who is now a formal knight, and you are hiding behind the scenes to wait for news. 82 years old, your wife and concubines passed away one after another, and you were heartbroken. 90-year-old, no news, but you have greatly improved yourself, and you have successfully engraved it in the spiritual sea, zero-ring witchcraft spiritual eye. 100 years old, you celebrated your 100th birthday, but there is still no news about the children you sent to the wizarding continent. 110 years old, no news. You have given up on this idea. Your heart is full of disappointment and worry. You feel that it is because of your selfish desires that you killed the heirs who were sent to the wizarding continent by you. 123 years old, you closed your eyes unwillingly. You died. So far, none of the 15 descendants you sent to the wizarding continent have returned. The simulation is over, please choose your reward. Keep realm or keep spell. Pity. Seeing the last paragraph in black characters, Chen-Mu sighed slightly in his heart. Everything in this simulation actually originated from a conjecture he made. The result was clear. None of the 15 descendants who were sent to the wizarding continent came back. Chen-Mu didn't know whether they couldn't come back or didn't want to come back, but these had nothing to do with Chen-Mu in reality. Chen-Mu will naturally not follow this path in subsequent simulations. Keep the magic. Chen-Mu thought in his heart, and a huge change occurred in his spiritual sea at the next moment. Please read.